Welcome back to Before It Breaks with Gabriella Pomare. This is the podcast where we talk about the things that often begin quietly, before the resentment, before the emotional shutdown, before the breakup, before the friendship shifts, and before the career panic, before the moment you finally admit what part of you probably already knew. Today's conversation is going to feel a little bit like a group chat. The screenshots, the voice notes, the am I overreacting, the be honest, is this a red flag? You know, the he said he wants casual but he acts like my boyfriend, the I'm fine when everyone knows you are absolutely not fine. The advice women give each other before they're ready to give it to themselves. My guest today is Emma Klipstein, also known online as Life with Emma H. Emma's the host of Too Much, a podcast about breakups, dating, self-trust, reinvention, surviving and thriving in your 20s and 30s, and becoming unapologetically yourself. Emma's whole platform is built around the idea that maybe the thing you were told was too much is actually the part of you that needs to stop apologizing. And that is why I wanted to have this conversation with her. Because so many women are exhausted from trying to be chill. Chill in dating, chill in relationships, chill in friendships, chill at work, chill when they want more, chill when something hurts. Chill when they're confused or disappointed, anxious, hopeful, attached, ambitious, lonely, or secretly spiraling. And before something breaks, there is often a whole season where a woman is negotiating with herself, trying to decide if she's asking for too much, trying to decide if the red flag is really red, trying to decide if the friendship still feels safe, trying to decide if the situationship is costing herself her confidence, trying to decide if she's building the life she wants or just performing the version of herself everyone seems to like. So today I want to talk to Emma about dating, situationships, friendship, group chats, career pressure, being too much, choosing yourself, and learning to trust the part of you that usually knows before you're ready to admit it. This is a conversation about the advice women give each other before it breaks and how to start giving some of that honesty back to ourselves. Emma, thank you for joining me. I'm very excited for this conversation.
Thank you so much for having me.
I think it's going to be an interesting one. For my listeners who don't know you, tell me a bit more about you and everything you do.
Where to begin?
There's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, the short of it is I'm from New York, from Westchester originally, went to college, FIT in New York City, and moved out to LA shortly after college and was doing social media and branding. Started my own marketing agency at 28,
Wow.
moved back to New York with all of those clients. And I thought that I was going to grow my company, be like the biggest CEO, have a huge agency. And then all of a sudden I started a podcast. And that kind of changed everything for me. You know, I decided I've built brands my whole life for other people. Why not do it for myself? I feel like I have something to offer the world. And it quickly picked up and gained traction. And I realized it was kind of my calling, if I do say so myself. And that unfortunately unraveled a bit because I had a co-host and, you know, if you know me, you probably know what went down. But in the wake of that and out of the ashes, I started my own podcast, Too Much, which I've had now for a year and 5 months.
Wow.
I feel like someone with like a child. I'm like, it's 17 months old. But yeah, so I started Too Much back in January or February of 2025. And I've just been rocking and rolling since and pretty much shifted my entire career to podcasting, creating, and I've got a lot of other fun things in the work. So yeah, that's
so much going on.
Also single and 32.
Just to throw that one in there.
Yeah, just the full picture.
How did you find the confidence within yourself, I guess, to do that and to say, forget everyone else and the other brands, I'm going to build myself up and this is going to be about me because I have something to offer the world?
Honestly, it's always been something that's just been innate in me and in my DNA is that like I've always been on stage. I've always been kind of a ham and I like to make people laugh and I oddly enough love attention. I feel like a lot of people are, you know, afraid of eyes on them or walking into a room and having, you know, all that attention, but I love it. I thrive in it. And so it kind of came naturally to me. But then once I parted ways with my old podcast, it was very much like I've done this before. I had a use case. Like, I'm very much a data person. So if I have the data and I'm like, I've been successful in this before, I know I can do it. There was no doubt in my mind that I could do it again, and very quickly proved to myself that I could. And I'm just, I don't know. I hate like tooting my own horn, but I guess that's what podcasting is. But I'm just like built differently.
Yeah,
that's
I agree
really
with
how
that.
I view it.
You knew you wanted it and you went for it.
Yeah.
And I think so many people can learn from that because they're so worried to go and do what they want. But if you believe that you have something special, go out there.
Yeah, the best advice I can give anyone is to learn the ability to pivot. Like, if you can pivot, then it doesn't matter what comes your way. You're just able to change directions, adapt, evolve, and just grow into the next version of you based on whatever you're encountering. So I learned that at a very young age to just, tackle whatever comes my way. My mom always said, pick yourself up by your bootstraps. And I would. And that's kind of where that data comes from. It's if you can change and evolve that many times and you've seen it only bring you better things and opportunities, it's way easier to do it again as life throws punches at you, which it inevitably will.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it is very true. You talk a lot about being too much or not apologizing. What does too much mean for you now?
Well, too much it's a universal term and it's subjective. A lot of people associate it with it being extra or maybe messy or loud or whatever it may be. But like I said, it is subjective. So it's really based on someone else's insecurities and what makes them comfortable. So someone could sit there and say, she's too opinionated, she's too talkative, she's too quiet, she's too shy. And that's just the idea of too much of one thing. So that's really the message I try to get across, where it's like, you being yourself can never be wrong because that's who you are. You are unique. It's really just a matter of other people and how they view you. And it's like, stop giving a fuck, because what is too much for one person is just right for another. When it comes to myself, I would say the most common thing people think I'm too much about is maybe probably too opinionated, probably too, I don't want to say aggressive, but aggressive. Like, I have no filter.
But can they be too opinionated? I mean, the reality is in this day and age, you gotta,
yes. I mean, yes, everything is nuanced. And of course, there's the fine line of being appropriate and, not on purpose making people uncomfortable. But I think just, especially with dating, I see it a lot where I'm too intimidating for a lot of men or I make people nervous. I've only been single having a podcast. I've only been single for the last 7 months. Okay. I've had a boyfriend for both podcasts, and it's been really interesting to tell people that I have a podcast and see their reaction, and B, kind of just like work through that dynamic. And I've had 2 men in the last 7 months tell me that I make them nervous.
Is it the honesty that you think people are afraid of? The fact that you're going to open up on this podcast, the world's going to hear about what's going on in your life?
I think it's that. That's definitely a part of it. But then the other part is that I tend to know too much. And it's almost like I know their secrets. And, I had one guy say, you know so much about love bombing. I feel like I'm walking through landmines. And I'm like, that says a lot more about you than it does about me.
I would think
like,
so.
What the fuck are you doing? Like, how are you treating women that you're nervous that I know all the tricks in the book? And to me, it puts me in a position of power because I'm like, it puts me in a position of power because I uphold my boundaries. Because I will sit there and say, I don't allow this. I don't allow love bombing. I don't allow these antics in my orbit. So as soon as I encounter them, I peace out.
It's
I'm
a red
like,
flag.
you're goodbye. So I think that's what makes them nervous, is they feel like if they misstep. However, that said, I am still a lover girl and I still give people the benefit of the doubt. And, I'm not some like narc when it comes to dating. I'm not, that's also another challenge. It's like separating the podcast from the girl because I am not this.
Well, you speak so much about dating and relationships that, I guess that would impact maybe the way that you go into a relationship or the way you view someone.
Yeah.
Do you find that?
It definitely impacts the way I approach a relationship. But at the same time, I do try to keep it as much church and state as possible because I don't want someone to feel like, I'm a drill sergeant in a relationship. I would never treat someone that way. It's very much just like, it's like a doctor. If you're married to a doctor, you're not going to not have junk food around them just because they're a doctor. I don't know if that's a good analogy, but like
No,
it's that kind of a situation where like that person's not going to like, just be on you all the time just because that's their profession. So it's hard for people to understand that out the gate without knowing me, but I do think it's a great filter and it weeds out a lot of people who are not right for me because if they are not willing to get to know me and understand that I am a not different person because I do practice what I preach, but I am not. It is a show.
You're an individual.
Yeah, and if they're not going to give me the time and effort it takes to understand that, then you're not for me. It doesn't matter.
Do you think there are warning signs? Do you think your body can feel when something's off in dating and in relationships before like you start saying it and realizing it?
Yes, for sure. I think I've always had a pretty good head about me when it comes to dating and understanding what's toxic. But I think what I've learned as I've gotten older and into this profession is the boundary upholding, where it's like I won't put up with the disrespect and the toxic people because life's too short, and I've built something within myself and my career where it's just like I'm too old for this. Like I'm not doing the toxic men anymore, things like that. So I do definitely approach it differently. And it's a matter of gut feeling, and also I know the signs. I know a lot of the red flags now, and I can see them. I used to joke that I was colorblind back in the day, and I would just be like, I don't see the red flags.
No.
But now they're blaring.
What are the red flags?
It depends. It's person to person. But, I think right out the gate, if you go on a first date with someone, I've seen a lot of guys love bomb and gaslight on the first date.
Really?
And that is just red flags are predictive of someone's future treatment towards you. It's like people throw around that term quite a bit, but it can be very telling of how they're going to be as a partner, how they'll be in conflict resolution. If on the first date, someone sits there and tells you, oh, all women say that, you sound crazy, or that's a crazy thing to think, or something like that. It just shuts you down when you're saying just like how you feel about something. Like that is a red flag. It doesn't mean that it's a deal breaker, but it's predictive. And I think it's just, the responsibility of the recipient to just be aware and be like, what could this mean down the line? You can give them another date or so to try and figure out if that's who they are or if it was just like a slip up. But
do you think you can judge too early, from that first? Because I guess in this profession, I think I call it a profession, when you're talking about these things so much, when you're looking into them, when you're having these discussions, do you think you jump into on the first date, oh, I think that is a red flag, but maybe not? So will you give someone a second or third opportunity to change or to show you maybe more of themselves?
Me personally, yes.
Should women generally?
Yeah, like should we? Like there are times where I sometimes miss the chaos. And I'm like, I've girl bossed too close to the healing where, I know something's toxic and I'm just like, but I'm so attracted to him. And I'm like, fuck it. But I would never advise someone to do that. However, I know that I can bounce back quickly and I don't really get hurt like most women. And I don't mean to say that to like brag, but it's true. I'm very good at detaching and disassociating, which I don't know if that's healthy, but I can.
Yeah, I'm not too sure.
Yeah. So, but like, I've gone on a few dates recently where it was very toxic and they asked me out again and I was like, like I've got nothing else to do.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm like, whatever. And, not for nothing. It is content.
That's it.
Market research.
That's it. You need something to chat about. Why do you think girls and women in particular take these sorts of issues to the group chat, to their friends when they're having these sorts of issues or the red flags are popping up?
I think a lot of times people do bring these issues to their friends, even though they know in their heart that it's wrong because they are trying to fight their intuition and they are trying to find someone to validate the opposite end. I saw someone say recently that when you have a thought and there's a question mark at the end, that is anxiety. And when you have a thought and it's a period, it's a statement, that's intuition. So if you're sitting there saying, should I be going out with this guy? That's your anxiety being ignited. And something in you, your intuition, is grappling with your heart and your feelings. And you're like, you're questioning these things, but that's the answer. If there's confusion, that's your answer.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of girls do it because they just like want to ruminate and they want to sit in it and go through it so they can get a different result or get a different answer from someone else. So they validate their own feelings.
Yeah, I often find that I'll reach out to advice from my friends, but then I never take it.
Right.
Or
because in your heart and your
I'm like,
intuition,
you can't change my mind either
Right.
way. I'm asking you because I think I should ask you, or maybe I just want to have that chat to, throw around the idea. But the reality is my mind's set and I'm going with whatever. It's probably the wrong choice that I'm making. But
you also can't tell your friends what to do. I have so many friends where I'll give them advice about a guy and it's like I can hit them over the head with it, but ultimately they're just going to have to learn on their own. I'm like, I'm going to be such a good mom one day because like I genuinely know that because I've seen it with so many people of just like you have to let people make their own mistakes and that's how you learn. And I've made thousands of them and that's how I've gotten to where I am. I'm kind of notorious for being in a lot of relationships in my 20s.
Yeah.
And it taught me everything that I know because I fucked up so many times and I had my heart broken so many times and I just never let it keep me out from the fight. Like,
and it hasn't stopped you from wanting to go out there and...
No, I love adventure. I love excitement. I love love. I love guys. I love meeting people and connecting. So that brings me more energy than if I were to say like take a break from dating, which also I don't really believe in because I think dating is a skill. And I think going through all of this is how you build up those pivoting skills. So, you can't knock me out for some reason. I just keep...
I think we need a whole TV show on you just to follow you around on this journey. What would you say the most common dating question you get from, your listeners is?
Typically, it's how to get over someone.
Yeah.
Yeah, how to move on after a breakup. But yeah, that's the biggest one that I get where people are just hung up on someone and they're like, how do I pick myself back up? How do I stop thinking about him? That's really the biggest one. And, I did a story time episode yesterday where people wrote in, told me stories, and I just answered those. And that was a majority of it. And my advice to getting over someone, unfortunately, it is brainwashing. Like it's something that you just have to push through. And I think the greatest tool is to understand what's going through their head. That's how I get through a lot in my life is if I can understand the mechanics of the brain and the decision-making process, then it really helps me cope with something and heal, even if it's like something about nutrition and wellness. If I understand the mechanics of what's making me not sleep, it's because I'm dehydrated. These things like then that will encourage me to drink more water. So if you unpack what this person is going through, then it makes it a lot easier. One of the stories yesterday was that someone was engaged to someone. She had this whole idea of their relationship and she thought it was one way. And then he broke up with her and he flipped everything and was like, you're insecure, you're not a genuine person, I don't like how you are with my family, and like completely changed the POV of the relationship. And so what I explained to her was you are going through cognitive dissonance, which is when your reality does not match what you believe to be true. And this guy he wanted to make a decision and he had to convince himself that he was not hurting you, that he was making the right decision. So he did make up a narrative in his brain, and that is a defense mechanism. That's a survival tool that people can develop, and it's instinctual. Like it's not even something that they're often consciously doing. So I'm like that. Once you understand that, and that's how you can remove yourself from it and say, this is out of my control. This is a them problem. This is what they are going through, and that is sad, but there's going to be someone out there that is perfect for you and would not treat your heart that way.
But how does someone not then get hung up on this idea of if you are being criticized, and right or wrong, and it usually is to get out of the relationship, blame it on the other person, they're the wrong one. How does, and it's usually a woman, how do you feel confident again if this person has broken you down with all the things they've said about you and made you believe about yourself?
So I think that dates back to when you got into the relationship. Because I really believe that if you don't go into a relationship with a firm foundation within yourself, you are going to fill your voids with the validation that you get from this other person. And that's fine if you get validation from your partner, that's okay. It's natural. But what happens when they leave you? you're left with all these holes. If you cannot provide that confidence and comfort and security for yourself, and you're relying on someone else to do that for you, you're fucked.
Basically.
There's no way that you're gonna, or not no way, but it'll be much more difficult to recoup after, because you're going to try and seek that validation from someone else. So my whole thing is like, you shouldn't even get into a relationship unless you have these 5 boxes checked off or very much worked on. And those are, it's my 5-box theory.
Yes, tell us.
But it's the relationship you have with your friends and family, and making sure that you're prioritizing time with them. Because I can't tell you how many times I've gotten into a relationship where I've self-abandoned and I have not seen my friends, I've not seen my family, I've isolated myself. So what happens when you don't have that in a good place? You break up, you go to your friends, and they're like, sorry, you abandon us. So there's that. Then there's your relationship with your job. You need to be in a position where you're not feeling drained at the end of the day. Like, you are actually excited about what you do, because if you come home and then you have like nothing left to give, like that's also not great. You need to have hobbies. You have to have something that sets your soul on fire outside of your job, whether that's a sport, a club, a community, like some type of thing that you do for yourself that brings you energy. Then your relationship with your health and your wellness, and making sure that you feel good in your body in whatever way that is for you, that you feel sexy, you look good you feel good when you look in the mirror, and you just feel like healthy. Because if you're insecure in that way, and again, you're seeking that validation. And lastly, it's the relationship with yourself and making sure that you love yourself and you're proud of yourself. So it seems like a lot. It also seems cliche, but it's really not. Like, my last relationship, I got into it feeling that way. I felt so good and confident with myself, and I made sure throughout the relationship I was seeing my friends on a regular basis. I was seeing my family. I was having my alone time. I still had my independence. It was a very interdependent relationship, so that when we ended, I kind of was like,
I'm okay.
Bye.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, okay.
I was listening to a podcast the other day, and I think it was Jay Shetty, and he was talking about, it's an old one, how you need to make certain nights within a week. So you need to have your nights with your friends, your nights with your family, solo nights, as well as nights with your partner, and that's how you maintain the relationship too. So I think to keep those healthy boundaries whilst you are with someone is so important, because otherwise you just lose yourself in that relationship, and then you're so lost when you do break up, and then life's sort of gone, and all the pieces have fallen apart, and it's much harder then to come back to yourself. Talk to me about situationships. Why do you think they're so addictive?
First of all, I don't think situationships are real. Situationships it's a coping mechanism. It's a label that people place on something that doesn't exist, because if it has a name, then they're able to wrap their head around the fact that they are accepting disrespect and accepting so much less than they deserve. And they're settling. And because you don't want to be wrong about someone, because you don't want to admit that you are self-abandoning and self-sabotaging your dating life, you have to identify and you have to label it. And you say, well, this is a situationship. And because I know what it is and I can name it, that means it's okay.
Yeah.
And that's bullshit. So I think it's this limbo, and it's not even that it's addicting. It's just that people don't have to do the work that it requires to leave and find something better if they can sit there and call it a situationship.
Yeah, you get too comfortable and that's your easy.
Like, I would never, I could never call it, like, I would sit there and say, I don't know what this is. I've been talking to this guy for a couple months, but I would never give them like the power almost of giving it a title. I'm like, no, you don't have that access to me. Like, I am not your girl. We are not exclusive, but I'll go over every once in a while. We'll get dinner every once in a while, but it's just a matter of like keeping your power and not putting all your eggs in that basket.
Yeah.
Like, you can,
but maybe you need the confidence to know that. Like, I think a lot of women get lost, and it becomes maybe addictive for them because it's not really a relationship, but it's giving them that fulfillment. And I think this person wants me. I keep going back, but he probably has a completely different intention.
Yeah. Well, it's a reward-based system. It's like intermittent, like validation and reward, where we do get addicted to the inconsistency. So you have the high highs and you have the low lows. It's kind of like, I believe they call it hoovering.
Yeah.
where someone is like just sucking you up and then spitting you out and then sucking you up again. And it is addicting. So, you think that if I post this thirst trap, he's going to text me and then I'm going to go out with him. And great, I was rewarded for my behavior for looking hot. So I'm going to keep doing that because I want him to keep texting me.
That's why we do it, isn't it?
That's why we do it. It's addicting. It genuinely, because it's dopamine.
Yeah.
You get the dopamine from the person, and that is an actual chemical that is addicting in your brain. And that's why so many people stay in toxic relationships, especially with narcissists or people who love bomb, because they want that dopamine.
That's right.
But it's just, again, it's a matter of like providing that dopamine for yourself, or finding someone that's a healthy partner that gives it to you on a consistent basis. That's the biggest green flag in a relationship. It's consistency, and across all fronts of like how they treat you, how they show up, when they show up, how often they're talking to you, and just like providing you support, So if you have someone who's hot and cold, that is the biggest red flag, like biggest.
When do you think, though, that, let's just use the word situationship or any sort of dynamic like this, how do you know when it's starting to play on your confidence and it's starting to break you? Is there a trigger or a warning sign?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's when someone's providing you with more question marks than exclamation points. That's how I typically like to word it. Like if there is that confusion, if you are constantly questioning, where is he? Why isn't he texting me? What's going on? What is this? When am I going to see him again? That's not healthy.
Yeah.
And I think it's just knowing that, it's hard to also know that until you've experienced it.
I agree with that.
And I think it took me experiencing it to realize it. My last boyfriend, I called him Mr. Right. He, ended up being Mr. Wrong, but he was amazing. And right out the gate, anytime I would leave him, he'd say, "When can I see you again?
Yeah.
When am I seeing you next?" And he would make a plan and he would follow through. And I was like, holy shit, this is what it feels like. And it's unfortunate that it's so far and few between, and you have to ultimately be patient and wait for that to happen. But that's when you realize that you are, I don't want to say realize, because everyone is worthy of the love, but sometimes within ourselves, we have to realize it.
Yeah, it's so right.
And that comes with experiencing it. So I think once you feel that, and then you're like, and then you've experienced the opposite, you're like, oh, no, this is what I used to accept. I've had what's good, and I will never accept less again. It's like flying first class. It's like, I can't go back to economy.
It's so hard to go back.
Yeah, you can't go back to economy after first class. So why would you do it with a stand-up guy and go back to the shithead narcissist?
Yeah, but how nice a feeling to not have to be the one that's always saying, when can I see you next? When can you make time for me? And always having to wait, and that feeling, within your gut and your stomach.
Yeah, it's a really shitty feeling. And I think that's, so many people just want to be picked and chosen. And it's a really sad but common thing. And it's a matter of choosing yourself and knowing what choosing yourself looks like. Choosing yourself is not self-abandoning. It's choosing only the positive and the people that bring you joy and happiness and security. And you can still choose yourself while choosing someone else at the same time.
Can you?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, people have asked me many times, are you focusing on yourself right now, or are you dating? And I say, why can't I do both?
Yeah.
You should be in a relationship where you are progressing in your own self and in the relationship at the same time. And that is a healthy relationship. That's an interdependent relationship.
Yeah, I believe that. I really do. What do you think are some of the red flags that girls tend to, dismiss, right? Because they want their story to work. They want everyone to be convinced that this is the right relationship. We can probably all see that there are these red flags.
I would say that the time commitment is probably the biggest thing.
A huge one.
I think not everyone, but most women will make excuses for them of, well, he's really busy with work right now.
Yeah.
He travels a lot with work. And, he's really tired. He has this thing going on. It's like, if he wanted to, he would. If he wants someone else will.
Yeah.
It's the tale as old as time. I think that's the biggest one.
I don't think enough women realize that, though. There's that reel that you'll see pop up all the time. It's like, if he wanted to respond, he would, but we were always like, no, and you explain it away and away. And I think you always have that hope of there's an excuse, and you start making these excuses. But I think that's the time where you just gotta, it's time to
I think when it comes to the excuse making, you have to just like realize what you're doing. You're basically trying to convince yourself that someone has feelings for you and wants you, where it's like they should be the ones who are convincing you. And you should never have to prove to them or prove to your friends why you're in something. It should be very clear. And again, it's a hard pill to swallow, but like that's part of growing up. You know, in your 20s, fine. You can like go through this and do all the shit. I've done it. Everyone's done it. But as you get older, your time becomes so much more valuable. It's always valuable, but you really start to feel it as you get older, and especially in your 30s and 40s. And it's not worth it.
Yeah.
And, you know, they say that it'll happen when you least expect it. And I think the reason that it happens when you least expect it is because you are busy focusing on yourself and putting so much energy into yourself and filling your own cup that you're not even looking at the people who are looking at you. And when you pour that much into yourself, it is so magnetic.
Yeah.
People want to be around that.
Yeah.
That ignites other people. It encourages other people and excites them, and they are drawn to that.
I think when you prioritize yourself and you're doing all that self-healing and self-work, that's when the right person will find you, because you're glowing, you're getting out there. And I think that is when you attract, you know, the right person. And I think that's when you can have a healthier relationship.
Yes. And that's also when you are being so authentically yourself. And your authenticity and being yourself is your best filter. I always encourage people, you're going on a date, like wear whatever you would want to wear. Say whatever you would say. Your authenticity is your best filter. And if someone won't accept you at your 100 and who you genuinely are, then they're not right for you. And that's okay. You know, you can't keep up this facade. It's not sustainable.
Why do you think so many women are afraid or perhaps embarrassed to want that consistency, you know, from a man, or to want, you know, a proper relationship, as opposed to, you know, just casual fling?
I think a lot of times that forces people to look in the mirror and face their own flaws and their own shortcomings, which is difficult to do. You know, but dating is a mirror. I think when you have a partner, they will either bring out the best in you or they will bring out the worst in you. So it is quite literally a mirror. And, you know, I'm not blaming them. I'm not saying it's their fault. But, you know, I've been with people where I was the most anxious, crazy fucking person I've ever been in my life.
Yep.
And then the next person I'm with, I'm a peach. Like I am like so easygoing about so many things. And it's just because I was not compatible with that first person.
I think you're right.
And you know, the one I'm thinking of specifically, like he was fucking packed for the airport like 10 minutes before we left. And I'd be like, oh my God, like having a heart
such
attack.
anxiety.
Yeah. And then the next one would, you know, book the flights, pack a week in advance, like do all these things. And he really regulated my nervous system.
Yeah.
And that's okay that some people do and some people don't. We are just not compatible with everyone. And you have to realize that like what was the common denominator in these relationships? Some of, you know, are you jealous? Are you wondering where they are at night? Because I got to tell you, not everyone will make you feel that way.
Yeah.
Some people will text you when they're out and say, hey, just finished dinner. We're going to go to this place. And they will keep you posted all night because they know that would make you anxious if they
and
go
that's
silent.
Important too. Yeah.
Right. So it's about finding the right partner who you're compatible with. And that takes trial and error. It takes time. And it takes heartbreak a lot of the time. So
do you think though with age, that's how you start realizing like these are the things I need? And then you have the confidence perhaps through experience and through dating and as you get older to say maybe these are the things I need? Like I know my partner is a terrible communicator and I'm often like, it's 2 a.m. And it's not that I think he's out there doing, I don't know, God knows what, but I'm like, can't you just say, hey, we've gone from here to here and this is the time I'll be home. It's not that hard to send a text. But yeah, you're often afraid to communicate that so as not to cause an issue or, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, you know, I always recommend that people create a non-negotiable list right after you get out of a relationship and really reflect and just say, you know, what made me see red? What increased my anxiety? And those are the things that should be your non-negotiable. And I don't think that all of these things are deal breakers. You know, you're saying that your partner is not a great communicator. He could be so amazing in all these other places where it's like, you know what, if that's the worst of our problems, that's okay. And I think that's part of being a good partner as well. It's understanding their shortcomings. And, you know, you can't get into a relationship falling in love with someone's potential, hoping that they change. If they are not that great communicator out the gate, that's got to be okay with you, or you have to not be in the relationship.
Yeah, it's unlikely they're going to change.
Yeah, I mean, they might do the work, but you cannot guarantee it, and that's falling in love with potential, and that's setting yourself up for failure and disappointment.
Yeah, and I don't think you can blame the person either because they're simply going to say, you knew what I was like when we started dating. These were sort of things that, you know, from the outset, don't blame me, a year down the track where things haven't changed.
Yeah.
We're either going to make this work or we're not.
Yeah. And I know so many women, love a project. And I definitely used to be that person. But I also, I tend to date older men with, quite a large age gap. And that started when I was very young. So when I was 24, I was dating a 39-year-old. And I learned very early that you cannot teach an old dog new tricks.
I feel you.
Yeah. Like you just can't. And especially if they're older and they're set in their ways.
Yeah.
Like you have to pretend this is who they're going to be. Would you marry them tomorrow? If there's a checklist of things that you would change, this person is not for you. Because those things are going to drive you up a wall and it'll create resentment. It'll create fights. And it's going to be a toxic relationship. So why get into it?
And resentment and I think contempt are the worst things within a relationship because once that starts, there is sort of no way out. And I don't really think there is repair once that sets in.
Right. And then, you also have to understand the difference between compatibility and chemistry. Because when you start dating someone, chemicals are chemical. Like it's a spark for a reason. And a lot of times sparks, they go out. That's why they're a spark. But compatibility, someone who would be a good partner and be a good, a compliment to your life, that's what you need to be looking for. So, my ex, the one that I call Mr. Now I call him Mr. Right Then. I don't call him Mr. Wrong because I think he was great. But he was Mr. Right Then.
Period.
He's good for that time.
Yeah.
When Mr. Right Then and I started dating, it was a slow burn. And I, at first, was like, I don't know if I'm that into him. And my mom actually was like, maybe this is what you need. Maybe just stick it out for a little bit, like, see how it goes. And I did. And I really let it build. And I think that's genuine love grows. Love bombs are instant. And it's, again, a bomb for a reason because it's hot and heavy. It explodes and then it's gone.
Yeah.
And it leaves ruin in its wake.
And I don't think you can always have a lover. I think what you're looking for is a life partner, right? Because things can be fun. You can go out, you can go to dinner, you can have these extravagant nights out, drink a lot of wine, go on nice holidays. But what about the real, nit and grit of life? That's when I think you see someone truly, and that's when I think you can work out if someone is compatible really for you as opposed to, the day.
Yeah. And I think, what I said before about how I've been kind of dabbling with some toxic people, I think that's also because I'm not looking to get married right now. I'm really not. If someone comes along and they are going to knock my socks off, fine.
Then you do it.
I won't push them away. However, I'm not seeking that like I used to. And I think that's why I'm attracting these flings because energetically, I am not open to that right now because I am genuinely just going so hard in my career and being myself because I was just in a relationship that I thought was my husband. He literally bought my engagement ring. We were about to get engaged and my whole world got flipped upside down. And I was just like, you know what? It's okay if my timeline gets pushed back. I know I'm on a trajectory like this and I think I'm about here. And I think that I should wait to find my partner once I'm here. Because this journey, especially with what I'm doing in my profession, it's not for the faint of heart.
Yeah,
it's not
right.
for someone who doesn't want the same thing. And my ex did not want the same thing. So I felt like I was being held back. And I think just with what I'm doing, I need to be the decision maker. And
you are self-aware enough to realize that.
Right.
I think that's what a lot of people lack.
Yeah.
Do you think with so much pressure in society and social media and everything else that there is this rush? Everyone wants the wedding. I mean, I got sucked into that when I was in my 20s. It's like you want the big ring. You want the big fancy, Instagram wedding. How do we tell more girls and women that's not real life? Don't do it for the nice dress and for the photos. There is so much more to a marriage and a relationship than, what everyone else sees.
Yeah. I mean, I think with mine specifically, I do think I got caught up in being really excited to get married. And I thought I was above that. I never thought that would be me that would want to rush into it. And I don't think I was, but I was like, okay, he's good enough. And he wanted to marry me. And so I was like, great, someone wants to marry me.
Win-win.
Yeah. This is the first time this has happened. So I was like, I'm going to take it and run with it.
Yeah.
And I was planning our wedding before he even proposed. And I was like, I lost the plot. And it took me going through that to realize that. But, the scarcity mindset is really what drives people to settle and to believe that once I found someone that picked me, I have to be all in. But you have to remember that like you need to choose them as well. And you can't, it's not a matter of needing them. It's a matter of it's a matter of wanting to show up and choose them every day.
I like that.
And of course, the ring and the wedding is great, but like at the end of the day, you got to think about the bunker.
Yeah,
Who would you want to be stuck in a bunker with?
Tell me, how do you balance wanting a relationship and I guess when you're in them, having a relationship with career and growth and the goals that you do have?
I think it's a matter of the strength of your partner and the security of your partner. If you have an insecure partner, they typically will get insecure or they will typically get anxious if you're not paying enough attention to them and your attention is elsewhere. I think I made it a little too clear to my ex that I didn't need him and I was choosing him.
Yeah.
Granted, I'm a very hyper independent person and that shows up in every aspect of my life. But I also think that that's the most intentional love of all, is that from a hyper independent person, because I don't need to be here and I'm genuinely choosing to love you and I'm choosing to be here and show up. And, it depends on what your career is, but you have to be secure in yourself, whichever partner you are. You have to be secure enough in yourself and in the relationship to know that even though they're putting their attention elsewhere, that they still love you and that they're going after their dreams and why. But I think it's also the responsibility of each person in the relationship to make sure they're still making that time. I've heard of even brain surgeons sending a text during a surgery.
Right. If my partner is listening to this, even brain surgeons send texts. All right. So I think final question to wrap it up. And I think you can shed definitely some light on this. How does one come back to themselves after a breakup or when their life plan doesn't work out? How do you find yourself again and find the confidence to put yourself out there and date and go out there and, even if not date, go and do something for you?
Yeah. So, we're all familiar with the glow up that happens after a relationship. And that's my advice is do your glow up. But what I find very interesting is once you understand what a glow up is, it helps you approach relationships differently because a glow up doesn't need to happen if you never self-abandoned.
That's true.
If you did not drop your workout routine, drop your friend time routine, if you didn't drop all that, where would you have to go after the relationship ends? Like when mine just ended, I just kept going.
Yeah.
There was no glow up because I stayed true to myself. So I think it's if you do feel insecure and your confidence is low and your ego is hurt and you're heartbroken after a relationship, like that's when you do those 5 boxes. That's when you write your non-negotiable list. That's when you fall in love with yourself again by getting back to a place where you're spending time with friends, like surrounding yourself with people who energize you, doing like go to the fucking gym. Like the the endorphins, like just they help like crazy. Then you also feel like better in your body. And, put your all into work and just like do all of that. Then you will get to that place where you are probably ready to get into another relationship or date again. But it's just a matter of keeping consistent with that.
And then it won't matter so much when you do break up.
Correct.
And if you do break up, because you have you and you found you.
This is where the 5 box theory comes in.
Now I get it.
You have to build that foundation and then there will be no rug to pull out from under you if and when a breakup happens. And then you won't need to glow up and then you won't be insecure. Granted, of course, there's always that like that one true love heartbreak. Sure. And, I don't know if maybe my view on this speaks to the fact that these guys weren't right for me and maybe they weren't. Like it'll be different when I love someone and it hurts. But you have to protect yourself. At the end of the day, we are what we are left with.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Like you are the only person that you are born alone and you die alone. Like it's morbid, but it's so true. And you got to be in your own corner. And these are the things you have to do. It's the responsibility of being an adult and functioning on this planet. Like this is the job. Whatever, how you want to view that job, like this is it.
Yeah. Yeah, so, it is. It's got to be about you first, realistically.
Yeah.
And that's not selfish.
No,
that's the reality of it.
Yeah, like I said, you can focus on yourself and your relationship at the same time as long as you just, pour into all the cups and not just theirs. And can't tell you how many relationships I've been in where I've just prioritized their happiness. And I was a shell of a human when I came out of those relationships. I didn't eat for 3 weeks. I was depressed. I did the things. And that was because I self-abandoned. So
now full circle.
Yes.
So tell us, where can we find you? Any exciting projects coming up? What should people know?
Yes. So my personal Instagram is Life of Emma page. My podcast is Emma's Too Much. And, that's the same on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. I am actually starting a second podcast.
Ooh.
That is, I just kind of finalized that over the last week.
Okay.
And it's a true crime podcast.
Okay, that's different.
Totally different, which I think is great because I won't, double dip in either areas. We're still working out exactly what it'll be about, but stay tuned for that. Also writing a children's book, which is probably going to be a much longer lead project,
okay,
but it's happening. And yeah, there's a couple other exciting things happening that I can't talk about yet.
Well, stay tuned.
Yes, stay tuned.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having
this.
me.
Yeah, this has been so much fun, and I think everyone can certainly say they've learned a lot.
Yes, I'm glad. I'm happy to help through my, give lemonade through my lemons.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
What I loved about this episode is that it reminds us how much women are carrying in the background of ordinary life. The dating confusion, the career pressure, the friendships changing shape, the private spirals, the screenshots, the late-night voice notes, the pressure to be easy, to be relaxed and desirable, ambitious, independent, fun, healed, and completely unbothered all at the same time. And maybe the truth is that so many women are not actually too much. They're just tired of making themselves smaller, tired of pretending they don't want clarity, tired of acting like casual is fine when it's not, tired of ignoring the feeling in their body, tired of waiting for the group chat to say what they already know. And so for anyone listening, I hope this episode makes you think about the parts of yourself that you've been apologizing for, the needs that you've been minimizing, the red flags you've been explaining away, the friendships that need honesty, the career chapter that no longer fits, the relationship that keeps making you question your worth. Because before it breaks, there's often a moment where your intuition is already whispering. And the work is learning to listen before you need the whole group chat to confirm it. This is Before It Breaks, and I'm Gabriella Pomare. Thanks for joining us today.